Welcome back to 5 Things It Did Wrong, the video game review series that's actually secretly just masquerading as a standalone show. So hey, if you understood that, you're actually on part 2 of my Infamous review, and I urge you definitely to check out part 1 where we cover all the great things Infamous, the game I love, did right. If you already did that, let's jump right into 5 things that Infamous did wrong, because there are definitely issues with this hidden superhero gem of a game. The first thing that Infamous did wrong was the frame rate. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. The game will definitely slow to PowerPoint presentation levels at some points, especially if there's tons and tons of explosions going off on screen, which the game constantly encourages you to do. I mean, it encourages you to blow up gas stations. It encourages you to chuck 50 grenades into a crowd of enemies and just watch that grenade split into 10 little grenades and they all blow up individually. It encourages you to go into certain areas of the game. Actually, it forces you to, in the story, enter areas that are just so crowded and packed with enemies and explosions that the frame rate just dies. I mean, it literally jumps off a bridge into the river underneath Empire City. It's bad. And I can deal with that in a lot of games. I can deal with it in something like Demon's Souls, where it happens infrequently, but enough that it's a real pain. But it's never good, and it should never be praised, especially because there were a lot of games that were well optimized coming out at the time. Even in the time frame that Infamous came out in, putting that in perspective, there really wasn't an excuse for this many technical issues with the game, and it pulls you right out of the immersive experience of the game to the point where that's one of the things you're going to walk away remembering. And that sucks from such a good game. There was no excuse for that. And it's so sad to think that this is a game that I look forward to eventually seeing make its way onto PS3 emulators, because I really don't see Sucker Punch ever remastering this. But at least then we won't have all these frame rate problems. I mean, look at something like Metal Gear Solid 4. It runs really well compared to how it ran on the PS3 now. And that's something that this game is sadly going to eventually need in order to stay with the times. The second thing that I think this game did just poorly, it's terrible and I hate this in any game, is just how many escort and protect missions the game's story relies on. And it got worse and worse as the game went on. I mean, a few of these happened and I was like, oh, that sucked, but I'm sure there won't be many. Nope, there's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. Whether it's defend the generator, or it's defend the power plant, or it's defend the medical supplies for Trish, or it's defend this vehicle or defend this vehicle. It's over and over and over and over again. It's not fun. It's stupid. And frankly, it's not why people play a game like this. They don't play it to get pinned down in one spot like someone stuck in a sniper's nest with armies approaching them on all sides. I mean, this is not Sniper Elite. You're trying to play a superhero power fantasy game, not essentially trying to live out your last days in the gulag, running out of rations as incoming armies pour down on you, and you look down at the last remaining photo of your wife that you have who died years before and think, oh, this is it, it's over. It's just so obnoxious. I don't understand who thought this was a good idea. I hate it in every game I see it in. The only game I can tolerate this in is Resident Evil 4, because there's actually a built-in system to get Ashley out of your damn way when you're trying to play the game. And that's just not here. I mean, you will be on a bus moving through a city and it'll be like, defend the bus, Cole. I've rigged up electrical wires to the top of the bus so that you can keep getting power. And this keeps happening. Defend the prison, Cole. I've rigged up electrical wires to this prison fence so you can keep getting power. Defend this stupid helicopter, Cole. I've rigged up electrical things to the helicopter so you can get... It's dumb. It's overdone. Every part of it's overdone. There's nothing original about any of the encounters, and I hate them to death. I have no positive thing to say about them. They suck. The next thing is the crazy poppin. This is unacceptable. Who actually quality assured this game and said, no, that's fine. The fact that I'm running through Empire City, which is essentially New York City, and it looks like this massive tower just dropped out of one of the portals from Doctor Strange right into the world in front of me. No, that's fine. That's normal. No one's going to react to that. It's terrible looking. And it's not infrequent. And I looked online at some other takes on this because I don't look at this when I'm reviewing a game, but after writing up this semi-script, I was like, I wonder what other people thought of this. And the only thing I could find like reviewers talking about with it, at least in the old physically published text reviews, was that there was like infrequent pop-in. It's not infrequent. I'm playing this on a PlayStation 3 and it's not the base original crap model. This is a good PlayStation 3. It happens all the time. There were PlayStation 1 games solving this problem. The draw distance problem has always been a problem, especially on underpowered consoles, which they have always been compared to PCs, like it or not, and that's coming from someone who predominantly plays on console. Silent Hill 1 on the original PlayStation knew how to deal with this problem. They introduced fog into the game so that the player couldn't see the absolutely horrendous, terrible draw distance of the game and that things would pop in out of nowhere 20 feet in front of the player. They were able to solve this, and Infamous 1 on the PS3 couldn't. And I really think that this is partially a problem of scope. As much as I love how big everything is, and as much as I love how easy it is to traverse, it did not need to be this big. There's multiple islands in the game that are connected. You easily could have chopped out one of these and made the whole game more focused. It would have run better. It would have looked better. It would have been more alive. A lot of the areas and buildings are just sort of dead because of this idea that bigger means better, that for some reason game companies really had in their head around this time, and thank God they've at least mostly moved away from. But because of those things, and I suppose that could be a sixth thing in and of itself, the game has such bad technical problems that it made it a pain to play through part of it. And I loved the game. And so it was like, I was constantly sort of torn between like, oh boy, I get to play Infamous, and oh boy, I have to play Infamous to do this video because of that. The fourth thing that this game did poorly is if you think that MJ from Spider-Man was an unlikable love interest, like I've been reading your comments, I know a lot of you do. Oh boy. Oh boy, you should meet my lady Trish from Infamous.
What are you doing here?
Moya wanted me to see what's going on with the fountain.
Who's Moya?
Doesn't matter. Look, Trish, I know what that guy said about me.
My sister is dead because of you.
I swear I didn't know what was in that package.
I don't want to hear it. You want to help? Fine. You can start by closing that valve over there. It's jammed, and I can't turn it. That's the only time I'm helping you, Cole. If you get that stuff on you again, you're just gonna have to wait for it to wear off.
This is by far the worst superhero love interest I can think of in a video game, at least. There is nothing likable about this woman. Nothing. She is the biggest complainer and whiner I have ever seen. She immediately turns her back on Cole in the story. She's all about the Cole train. She's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely on that till the end of the line. I love Cole. He's the best. But as soon as it comes out that Cole's package that he was delivering in the very opening cutscene was the source of the explosion that killed her sister, she turns her back on Cole immediately. Even though it doesn't make any logical sense in the story. Cole is a delivery boy. He is a bike messenger. He is essentially the superhero version of the courier from Fallout New Vegas. This guy is not responsible for what's in his package. This would pretty much be like if a United States Postal Service person delivered a letter and that letter actually happened to have, let's say, a biological substance in it that got people no longer with us. I'm trying to talk my way around the algorithm here. And their wife was like, I can't believe you did that, you monster. I can't believe you did your job. You should have known what was in that package. That's on you, what happened to those people. It is the dumbest logic I've ever seen. It is totally just done to basically insert a drama into it. It's almost like the CW wrote this game in that aspect. And I never cared about Trish because of this. In fact, the first chance I got, I zapped her, and the game was like, you can't hurt Trish, game failed, try again. And I'm like, look, if you don't want me zapping this lady, you should not make her so unlikable. There is nothing redeeming about her, good riddance. The final issue I had with the game is probably the most nitpicky thing, and I understand it's something that will not bother everybody, but it bothered me so much. It's just frustrating when I see this, especially in a game that didn't have an excuse for it at the time, and that was the worst lip syncing I have ever seen probably in a game. I mean, yeah, I've seen worse. I mean, I've seen joke games that are worse, but from a AAA superhero game, basically, they will just flap their mouths and words will come out. There's nothing actually matched up here. It's just another immersion breaking thing, and I don't have a lot to say about it. I don't think it's something I can go on and on and on about, but I will say that it's sort of like if you've ever watched a Japanese movie and you've watched an English dub of it, right? So let's say you're watching Godzilla and you watch the English vocalization of it, but they don't match up the voices in most of those movies. Like, they just don't try. They just will dub over it with English because it's much, much easier. That's what this looks like. It looks like the language that they originally spoke this in was not of this earth. It's not even from a different country. It's not of this mortal realm that we inhabit. And essentially they just have English words popping out of the mouths of the characters just so that you can understand them, even though this takes place on an alien world. It might sound like nothing, and it is a nitpick. I will fully admit that right here. But on top of all these other things, like the issues with the frame rate, the poor mission structure, the crazy pop-ins, the unlikable love interest that's just terrible, this was like the icing on the cake that just made me feel like, you know what? I love this game, but I love it less and less every time I play it, the first Infamous specifically, and I'm glad that I'm not going to play it for a while. I think I need a couple years before I go back to and fully play through Infamous 1 again, because I just need to let it leave my brain. Infamous 2, the side games, and even Infamous Second Son, I think they've all aged much better than this game, and though I still love it, these issues are pretty glaring to me every time I try to go back to this game. So hey, I'm a huge fan of the Infamous series, especially, 2, Second Son, and the side games. And I love 1, but oh my gosh, these issues just really annoyed me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about these things. Have you played Infamous? Have you played any of the games? None of the games? Do they sound interesting to you? What would you like to see in the future from Sucker Punch? Because I'm really surprised we haven't seen them working on another Infamous game yet. And I would actually love to see that, especially after the beauty that was Second Son. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Be sure to click that bell and enable all notifications because that's the true subscribe button. And like the video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.